Hello once again. It's Ani Asar Sekerba, the reincarnation of Asar, the scribe Ani. This video we're going to talk about the bifurcation of timelines and its relationship to the other videos that I have posted earlier on the Phantom Matrix. So we are in a time of crisis on this planet, in this universe, in this time matrix. The invader ETs have manipulated the energy of this planet so badly that it's falling apart. The consciousness is falling apart. The planet is crying out for help. It's up to the angelic humans to save as many people as they can and this planet. How do you know if you're an angelic human? You just know. You're living a service to others' life. You have a high light quotient. You have the ability to read through other people and see their light quotient. Such a wonderful day out here today in Maryland. Just a beautiful spring day out in my backyard. And I look and I see nature, and I also see my phantom matrix tree far off in the background. It's this tree right back here. I'm trying to point to it. Yes, that tree. So, the bifurcation of timelines is real. And then what is it? What are timelines? What's bifurcation? So timelines, there are infinite timelines that exist in our phantom matrix, and there are infinite timelines that exist in our living matrix right now, because the timelines are still kind of intertwined. Like, think of a Venn diagram. But slowly but surely, they are being pulled apart. That's the bifurcation, meaning to be split in two. So that is the bifurcation in which I speak. It's a spider got on me. Just live, spider. Just live. So that's the bifurcation in which I speak. So, how is it occurring? Some people are going to have to be evac'd out through death, and it's what Ashiana Dean and Keylontic science calls bardo. They'll have to bardo out and then reincarnate, most likely on another third dimensional planet, because the Earth is it's no longer going to be third dimensional. It will no longer be the Earth. The Earth will be the Phantom Earth, and it will be part of the Phantom Matrix. That is, it's just basically they have just milked all of the positive light energy out of that planet, and it's just going to fall. That Earth is going to fall, and the consciousness that can be lifted, that is of the light, is going to ascend into the five-dimensional planet of Terra, which is, it's very complicated parts of metaphysics to explain in one video. So I will get back to the falls and how planets ascend. Bifurcation of timelines today, what we'll speak upon is how people can ascend out of the phantom matrix and attach themselves into that five-dimensional um, timeline. So I was watching an Ashiana Dean video, and you should definitely watch all of her videos. Um, it was from 2010, and she was speaking of the fall of the Milky Way and the relationship to Andromeda, and how people will be evac'd out. Now, when I look at evac, one thing about her teachings, and one thing you have to understand about metaphysics is we are one. The law of one is real. We are all one entity. However, we all exist in our own spiral. We all exist in our own spiral and have our own separate relationship with Source and our own oneness with all Source and all creatures, all things that have consciousness at the same time. So it's not really paradoxical, it's symbiotic. So as we have that individual spiral, that's when you'll start seeing that bifurcation happen. There'll be people close to you that they won't be able to take in the energy that's coming in, because there's still light energy coming in, because we still have in that Venn diagram, you'll see the light is the overlap of the phantom matrix and the living matrix is being pulled apart, but it's still there. There's still some hope for people to try to still ascend out of that phantom matrix timeline and into the light quotient path, the higher path where you can ascend and get to the higher dimensions and not fall into the phantom matrix. Um, However, it's going to come a time. She quoted 200 years, and I have seen various timelines that go up to as far as maybe 400 years of this age, this ascension age, where it's going to be a cutoff point where um, you're not going to be able to ascend out of the phantom matrix without what she calls a host matrix soul transplant. And to me, my interpretation is that of that is you have to have someone who's willing to give part of their being, their soul, to you to pull you up. And it's not like you have to do some ritualistic ceremony where you're sacrificing. No, basically you just are consciously attaching yourself to that person and saying, I'm going to give something of myself to help them, to bring them out. And it may be something as simple as I need to call this person every single day and check on them. I need to send them information. I need to ask them to come to my shrine or church, or let's read some of the Voyagers materials together. Let's read the Metu Netter together. Let's pray together. Let's meditate together. Let's do yoga. And you really just dedicate that much energy to that person to bring them up out of that phantom matrix timeline, so when the bifurcation does occur, they won't be left behind. I look at life a bit differently than other people, and people are going to look at my videos and say, oh, he's whatever. I look at humans as being infinite beings. Our souls are infinite, our souls are immortal. However, we were not seeded to die. When humans were first seeded, we were seeded to be immortal in a physical form. If you go back to the teachings of Credo Mutual back when, before the reptilians came here and tampered with our DNA and changed us into slave labor to workers, and I'm not speaking of American slavery, I'm talking about human slavery before the advent of so-called races and ethnicities. Apologies for the interruption. My son just asked me some inane question about a TV show. So, anyway, before humans were separated into all these various ethnicities and races and byproducts or whatever to create all this turmoil in the world that feeds the Chitauri, and that's something you watch Credo Mutual, he'll speak on. We were seeded to be immortal beings. And from my perspective, we still are. And if you are able to ascend into the higher dimensions, you'll find yourself getting younger rather than older. For example, when I went through the ascension process, I used to be bald. And then I just started noticing that my hair was growing back in the places that were bald. So I would just cut my hair all the way bald. And then I started noticing, I told my wife, I said, hey, look, my hair's growing back. And she just laughed. And then I was showing her, I was like, look, okay, I'm going to cut my hair today. And you see this area right here that was really bald. When I go to cut my hair again in 2 more weeks or a week later, you'll see how much more it's going to come back. And then she started really looking at it. And she was like, wow, Ani, it does look like your hair is growing back. This is right around the time I had my spiritual awakening in 2006. And so she started looking and she started really wondering, like, wow, your hair is really growing back. And so I went from having a bald head to now I have dreads that are all the way down my back. And just so people won't think I'm crazy, I will show some pictures of when I had a bald head. It wasn't just me cutting my hair off. I cut it bald because my hairline, and I already have a big forehead, but my hairline was so like just dilapidated and gone. And I had a big bald spot in the middle of my hair. And it's still kind of thin in the middle, but it's grown off so thick all the way around. My hair was really falling out just from um, all of the negative energy and the lack of living a service to others' life. It was really wearing me down. And then once I started living a service to, I was living a service to self life. And then once I started living a service to others' life, I could feel my light quotient growing. I started going in the opposite direction. out of that phantom matrix timeline and into the living matrix timeline. So, see, that's the key. The key is service to others. That is how you raise your light quotient. That is how you avoid being in that phantom matrix timeline. So, as the bifurcation happens, you will start to see people around you go through major, major changes. Their health will start to fail. Um, Unfortunately, the black community, you'll see people start to get in trouble with the law. They will start getting arrested. They'll start getting locked up. Um, as far as I can say about the European community, what you'll see is people who age really, really rapidly. You'll see rapid, rapid, rapid aging. Like for me, I'm 45 years old, and I never get um, that I'm a day over 30. And you'll see that with a lot of African people that won't age as fast. And then you'll see other African people who age like crazy. They'll be 35 and look 50. So that is one sign that you are headed for the other side of the bifurcation into the phantom matrix is rapid aging. Also, another sign is disease. You'll start to have cancer. You'll have high blood pressure. You'll have um, all types of various diseases. All types of various diseases. Now, the one thing that is not a sign of phantom matrix are the so-called sexually transmitted diseases, which if you're still confused about those, you need to watch Dr. Phil Valentine and he'll explain to you the myth of sexually transmitted diseases. A lot of times um, they're misinterpreted as mutations. We are still going through mutations, and it's not like X-Men. You're not going to have claws. You're not going to walk through walls. You're not going to float. The only way you have any type of floating and walking through walls and other physical um, structures is by having a very high light quotient and reaching that level of consciousness. That is something if you want to look into. Dr. Mitchell Gibson, The Reincarnation of Tahuti, he speaks upon how to do that. Another thing about the bifurcation, you won't even be able to tap into this video unless you are at a higher dimension of consciousness. Now, I really don't send these videos out to just anyone. They're public on YouTube. However, very few people have even found them. And there are billions of people out there in the world, and there are millions of them that understand that there's changes going on. And there are hundreds of thousands of them who really understand why the change is happening and are trying to live godly lives and understand Keylontic science and voodoo and the understand ancestry and how our ancestors give us power and the ability to intuit and the ability to understand that extraterrestrials and other beings exist and not to be led astray. And then there are, according to different biblical references and also Keylontic science, the 144,000 uh, I say angels who are actively trying to change the world. They're trying in the African sense of try means you're doing it. We are out here changing the world. We are the angelic humans. We are the ones who basically hold down what's left of the earth in that phantom matrix, middle of that Venn diagram as we push toward the living matrix. We are the ones that are going out here every day and remaining positive and showing love to people, even though they curse or scream or treat people like dirt. We transcend that, and when we come around, if you'll know that you're an angel, when you come around and people say, "Oh, hey, that's so and so," "Oh, I'm so glad he came today," not, "Oh, there she goes again. I wonder what she's going to do now. Oh, God, I can't stand when she comes around." And you just read that energy from people that they're so unhappy to see you. You need to do something different. Now, on the same token, you could be an angel, and people say that because your energy, when you come around them, they're so convoluted and so compacted with their energy, and they're so phantom matrix that when you come around, it causes them pain. And I have some people in my family like that won't even really hug me or touch me because when I come around them, they're so like in their own world of just service to self and sin and just a lot of activity that is just dragging them down, that they barely want to even be around me. They can deal with my children more because children are children, but just them being around me, it makes them feel uncomfortable, and they won't be negative toward me as far as like how I live my life. Like they recognize that I've, you know, changed my life to a point where I'm really peaceful and my family's happy and my children are happy, and career wise I'm successful. My wife and I, we have a peaceful life. However, a lot of them are still rooted in various religious dogma that is of the Phantom Matrix. Like, for example, Christianity. You can work Christianity, however, it's one of the biggest false agendas out there. I'll say it again, Christianity is a false agenda perpetrated to lead people astray.